Shedeur Sanders here on 2nd and 13. Had a little snap problem here after a big play opening, and he had a deflected pass just now. Looking rough here, but
what happens when an entire sports media ecosystem patiently waits for a young, highly scrutinized quarterback to completely self-destruct on national television, only to watch him deliver an absolute masterclass in mechanical growth? We are officially witnessing one of the most heavily analyzed, deeply polarizing preseason debuts in recent memory. When Shedeur Sanders finally stepped under the stadium lights, the establishment press corps already had their negative headlines written. They expected panic. They expected a player overwhelmed by the speed of the professional game. But when you actively strip away the biased commentary, turn off the mainstream narratives, and look directly at the unedited, raw game film, a completely terrifying reality emerges. Sanders didn't just survive his preseason debut. He actively exposed a massive, fundamental evolution in his mental and physical game. You are locked into NFL Zone Talks, the absolute, undisputed authority on the raw, unvarnished truth behind the biggest cover-ups, positional battles, and locker room dynamics shaping the league. Make sure you absolutely smash that subscribe button, hit the like, and let's dive directly into the incredibly revealing game tape that proves the Cleveland Browns have a massive decision to make. To truly comprehend the sheer, mind-numbing absurdity of what Shedeur Sanders was asked to do in this football game, you have to look directly at the absolute disaster occurring in the offensive trenches. The media loves to evaluate quarterbacks in a perfect vacuum.
Shows off early. Our guy Luke Floria, Kent State legend. I didn't see that ball wobble. I didn't see no wobble on that one. First down. Okay.
Completely ignoring the chaotic environment surrounding them. The absolute, undeniable truth is that Sanders was forced to operate a highly complex, professional offense while taking snaps from a fifth-string center. Let that completely sink into your brain for a second. The starting offensive line is completely decimated by injuries, forcing the young signal caller to rely on practice squad players to initiate the entire offense. And the catastrophic results were immediately obvious. On the very first drive, Sanders faced brutal, mishandled snaps that violently disrupted the timing of the play. Yet, instead of panicking, instead of pointing fingers at his offensive lineman or losing his composure, he calmly recovered the football, kept his eyes entirely focused.
Shedeur Sanders drives him all the way down to the basically 5-yard line. That's a pretty good starting drive from Shedeur. We got to just get better with the center exchange. But again, we're on like 5th string centers right now. And Shedeur with the two biggest
downfield and actively kept the offense alive. It was an immediate high-stress test of his leadership, and he passed it with absolute flying colors. But that wasn't the whole story, because the most terrifying, undeniably brilliant moment of the entire night occurred on a massive 3rd and 13 situation.
It doesn't matter. They send a blitz. It's a late developing blitz. It's a zero blitz. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think all 8 of these guys come. They do. What does Shedeur do? It's already a deep drop because it's play action. What does he do?
The opposing defense completely emptied the playbook, dialing up a highly aggressive, late developing zero blitz. We are talking about 8 massive defenders aggressively pinning their ears back and sprinting directly at the young quarterback with absolutely zero safety help over the top. In college, this is exactly the type of pressure that would have forced Sanders to panic. But the tape reveals a completely rewired athlete. Sanders recognized the blitz immediately. He planted his back foot, kept his chest completely square to the line of scrimmage, and knew with absolute certainty he was about to take a violent hit. He didn't flinch. He stood in the pocket and delivered a breathtaking, perfectly spiraled deep strike to Luke Floria for a massive first down. There was absolutely zero wobble on the football. It was a pure, unadulterated NFL-level throw executed in the face of absolute violence. And that specific display of courage forces us to examine the absolute biggest, most highly publicized criticism of Sanders' entire collegiate career. For the past year, prominent scouts and talking heads aggressively pushed the narrative that Sanders possessed a fatal mechanical flaw, the tendency to continuously drift backward in the pocket when he felt interior pressure. It was a terrible habit that consistently resulted in massive drive-killing sacks. But the Cleveland coaching staff has clearly spent the entire offseason violently attacking this flaw. Throughout his entire preseason appearance, the drifting was completely
Great job keeping the play alive by Shedeur. Keeps his eyes downfield, stays in the pocket, goes right.
undeniably eliminated. When the pocket began to violently collapse around his backup offensive lineman, Sanders didn't take a single step backward. He aggressively stepped up into the chaos. On one highly critical play, instead of forcing a dangerous throw under pressure or taking a sack, he utilized his legs, stepped through the collapsing interior, and scrambled for positive yardage. It was a quiet, fundamentally sound decision that proves he is actively mastering the subtle nuances of professional pocket navigation. But true elite quarterback play isn't just about surviving pressure. It is about microprocessing the field at terrifying speeds. Todd Monken's offensive system requires the quarterback to act as a point guard, instantly distributing the basketball to the most...
Here we go. 1st and 10. I think they're going to let Shedeur finish the drive here. First down, I think they're going to just try to run the ball here. Oh. Nice. Okay. Oh, hey. Check down, baby. Check down, baby. Easy.
Advantageous matchup. And Sanders proved his internal processor is operating at an incredibly high frequency. When the deep shots were completely taken away by umbrella coverages, Sanders didn't hesitate or hold onto the football trying to play hero ball. He immediately dropped his eyes and delivered crisp, perfectly timed checkdowns to running backs like Amani Marshall and Rocket Sanders.
There was no time in the quarter, dog. Case Keenum, I don't know. I don't know. When I unpause this and I come back, I don't know if we're going to be... I hope they're going to let him finish the drive.
He actively kept the chains moving, refusing to force the issue. The media absolutely hates talking about checkdowns because they don't generate viral highlight clips, but in the actual brutal reality of the National Football League, a quarterback who willingly takes the boring, guaranteed yards is a quarterback who wins championships. This hyper-efficient, highly protective mindset was on full display during a highly contested 3rd down play to Malachi Corley. Sanders motioned the offense into a trips formation, identified a specific matchup he liked on the boundary, and immediately fired the football. The pass fell incomplete, but the actual mechanics of the throw were absolutely brilliant. Sanders recognized that the defensive back was draped all over his receiver in incredibly tight coverage. Instead of trying to force the ball into the defender's chest and risking a catastrophic turnover, Sanders actively threw the football to a
3rd and 13. But, I mean, at the end of the day, nothing too crazy. Small stuff. First, what's it called? 2nd year stuff. Oh. Luke. Whoa. Whoa!
Highly specific, protected location where only Corley had a chance to make a play. He protected the football, protected the offensive possession, and proved that he possesses the exact type of situational awareness required to survive on 3rd down. However, in the interest of absolute, uncompromising analytical fairness, we have to address the highly frustrating element of his performance that the coaching staff will undoubtedly attack in the film room. Throughout the night, Sanders suffered multiple batted passes at the line of scrimmage. This is a highly complex issue that plagues many young quarterbacks transitioning to the professional level. The sheer size, wingspan, and athletic awareness of NFL defensive linemen are entirely unmatched. The Cleveland...
Okay, so they're going to have a good time. It's all good. Look, both quarterbacks have turnover.
Cleveland coaching staff will need to immediately go to work on slightly adjusting his arm angles and teaching him how to properly find the throwing lanes through the massive forest of defensive bodies. It isn't a fatal flaw, and it is a massive credit to the opposing defensive line, but it is a subtle mechanical adjustment that must be made before the regular season officially begins. And what happened next would shock everyone, because the media finally got the exact moment they had been desperately praying for. With just seconds remaining in his final quarter of play, Shedeur Sanders dropped back on 3rd and 8 and threw an interception. The establishment press corps immediately rushed to their keyboards, completely ignoring the brilliant deep strikes and the flawless pocket presence, to aggressively frame the entire night as a failure. But when you actively slow down the tape, the truth of the interception is glaringly obvious. Sanders was attempting to aggressively push the football down the field with a backup unit. There was a massive, undeniable miscommunication on the depth of the route, resulting in a severe overthrow.
The ball, they just said Shedeur, throw it, dog. Another batted pass at the line. That's tough. So the two things that if we are going to say we're working on getting the balls batted, but that's just a thing. That's more good defensive play right there. Less than it is, bad by Shedeur. That's something that you can kind of get worked on, making sure he can work that
directly into the hands of the secondary. It was a rookie mistake. It was a moment of overaggression in a meaningless exhibition game. But to frame a single miscommunication as a complete failure of his mental processing is pure, unadulterated journalistic malpractice. Both quarterbacks on the roster committed turnovers in this game, but only one is being subjected to an incredibly toxic, bad faith media microscope. We are officially standing at an absolute, undeniable precipice regarding the future of this incredibly talented football team.
Now, so you have the drop snap, you have two big plays. They tried to blitz Shedeur. He stood in the pocket and he threw it downfield to Luke Floria. He's gonna get the throw again here. He's gonna operate. Oh, he stands in the pocket. Okay. Hey,
The anybody but Shedeur Mafia desperately wanted the preseason opener to expose the young quarterback as a complete fraud. Instead, the raw game film exposed a highly mature, mechanically refined athlete who has actively eliminated his worst collegiate habits. He proved he can stand tall in the face of a zero blitz. He proved he can command the huddle.
Second and longs and third and longs. Here on second and 11, they're going to come out empty, but then they go ahead and condense the formation. 8 seconds left on the shot clock. Second and 11. Shedeur, 5 seconds left. He's looking there. 3, 2. He's going to hike it. Woo! That was close there. Stays in the pocket. Okay.
Despite operating with fifth-string offensive linemen. And he proved that his internal processor is already calibrated to the terrifying speed of the professional game. The Cleveland Browns front office can desperately try to spin the narratives to protect their massive financial investments. But the coaching staff and the film room scorekeepers know the absolute truth. I want to hear your absolute raw, unfiltered thoughts down in the comments below. Do you believe Shedeur Sanders proved he can handle an NFL pocket? And how much blame does the media deserve for aggressively focusing on a single preseason interception? Drop your absolute best, most aggressive takes below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay permanently locked into the absolute truth, and I will see you all in the very next deep dive.